Hey, what's up? It's Jake, and we're going to be going over conditionals. We've already used count and some loops for each, for things like that, but we're going to try doing it this way with some conditional stuff. So, um, we can use this to make conditional resources. We can loop, do a little bit of tweaking, and reuse some of these same things, these same concepts to conditionally create resources. So, start with an if statement. So, if you create a variable, enable auto scaling, right? And then you just set it as a type bool. Then we can pass a true or false value to conditionally create auto scaling based on whether or not in your root module for like stage, if you put false, then it won't auto scale. If you put true, then it will auto scale. So how you do this is you can use the count parameter set to 1, and Terraform will create one resource. If you set to 0, it doesn't create anything. So the conditional expression it follows is like this. There's a condition and then question mark, and then the value if it's true, colon, the value if it's false. So you can update your module to say, hey, I want a auto scaling schedule, and I want to have everything start at 9 a.m. every day, and the count of whether or not enabling is true or false or 1 or 0 is just set to the variable enable auto scaling. So if you have this variable set, right, and then you go to your root module for staging and you set it to false, then what it'll do is it'll say resource auto scaling schedule when you do run Terraform apply, and it'll say count equals var enable auto scaling, and since it's set to false, it equals 0, then it's actually not going to do this, right? And then so I made a scale out during business hours and a scale in at night. And so for prod, if you set it to true, then it will actually set an auto scaling schedule, um, and that's kind of handy, right? So especially when you want to make them different. So like with max size, min size, desired capacity, all that stuff. So then it's not static. So in here, like I said, if enabling auto scaling is true, it sets to 1, if false, 0. So I'm going to update my staging environment and we can see how this goes. So let's go ahead and open up my, we don't want Terraform gymnastics. Let's do project aardvark. And I'm going to go to stage. Whoa, a lot of stuff already open. All right, so here's my staging environment. And in my staging environment, so let's take a look at this module first. So in my module, this is where you get started. This is where you'd create, here's my launch template, my auto scaling group. I attach my auto scaling group, and then I say, hey, here's my schedule. So scale out during business hours, just like you saw in the example, and then scale in at night, okay? So this is part of the module now, so I can use it. So what I do is, also make sure you also set a variable for enable auto scaling schedule if set to true, enable auto scaling type bool. So then how you use this is in the root module for web server cluster, I have a main file and I added an enable auto scaling schedule equals false. Okay. So what'll happen is, let's see, where am I at here? Let's go to live stage web server cluster, and I'm going to do a Terraform plan. And what you should see is a Terraform plan that, because we declared the enable auto scaling schedule as false, does not have any auto scaling schedule. So you can see we got my security group, I've got a load balancer, I've got my attaching load balancer, I've got my Terraform template, I've got some tags for my auto scaling group, the attachment, and a listener, right? So there was nothing in there about scaling being or having a schedule. But if we take a look at prod, I updated my main file and I use the exact same pattern, right? Different variables, and actually set it to true. Okay, so let's go back to prod, prod web server cluster, and let me reformat this really quick so it looks nice. And then we're going to run a plan here. And the difference here is because we set this to true, we should see a schedule. So we've got our security group rules. I've got security group. Here's my load balancer target group, my load balancer, my launch template. And then here I can see that since it was true, it actually added an auto scaling schedule to scale in at night and to scale out during business hours. So it's kind of a neat way to conditionally provision resources based on a Boolean value set in a variable that you're just passing to the module. So essentially, when you're creating an API with a module, that just kind of gives the end user more flexibility, which is super convenient. So it's definitely something that I would recommend using, and I added it to my module because I thought it made a lot of sense. So let's go. Let's keep going. Look a little bit further, and look at how the if-else statement works with the count parameter. So with the if-else pattern, it's not a super useful example, but this does illustrate the pattern. So like I was saying here, you can use for whatever use case you have in your own environment. But let's take a look at an IAM policy. So I got one that I made that allows read-only access, right? So CloudWatch read-only, and then here's the policy document, and it says allow describe get list on all resources. And then I made a full read and write access, which effect allow action CloudWatch : on all resources is full access to CloudWatch. So let's say you want to attach one of these policies to a user based on the value of a new input called give full access. So if you have, like I said, a variable give full access, and then I went ahead and created one that says give read only access, and it basically uses the same pattern. I just set as a type of to bool, right? So then you can use the count parameter in a conditional expression that says, hey, for this policy attachment, give full access, CloudWatch full access attachment is a count, just like I used before. var.give full access is either 1 or 0, true or false. So then what you would do is just like you did with the auto-scaling schedules, you just create that variable, add it to your module, add this code to your module, go back to the root module for your prod environment and say, or stage or wherever you are, and set that equal to whatever. So if you have if you're managing your users in IAM with Terraform, then you could have variables for each user that allow certain policies to be attached based on whether this full access attachment variable is either true or false. So it's the same basic pattern, right? And you can do this however you want. I just used an example index 0 user so you can kind of see how you might find a user. And I did the same thing for read-only, count var.give a read-only access question 1:0. So this works well if your Terraform code doesn't need to know which of the if or else clauses actually gets executed, but you could actually also use some same attributes on the resources that's returned from the clause. So like if you had a user data script for stage and a user data script for prod, and you wanted to conditionally run one or the other in the environment, again, you just use the same exact pattern. The only difference is you're going to be doing it with a data source like a template file. So it just shows kind of how you can use the same types of patterns over different types of resources, whether it's a data source or if it's just a regular resource. But this pattern is pretty flexible. It works all over the place. It may not fit for your use case, but I'm not telling you should use it. I'm just showing you what the flexibility is with using conditionals in Terraform, because a lot of people don't know that you can use conditionals in Terraform. So in this case with this one, like I said, if true, it doesn't use the user data, right? Because I made a var enable new user data. So if it's set to false and it says, okay, so that would be 1 here would be false, then it's going to use user data. But if the variable is set to true for enable user data, it's going to be true and it's going to use, it should be the other way around, it's going to use the user data new shell script. So that's just, again, another kind of pattern using the same logic and positioning to accomplish different tasks and provision different types of resources using different Terraform objects. Okay, so then we have conditionals with the for each and for expressions. So just like the count parameter, you can use this to manipulate what you're trying to do. And if you remember, we did this with a dynamic tag. So I dynamically created tags for all of my instances. They're created in my autoscaling group using this expression right here, right? So a dynamic tag, and then what you can do is I used for each var.custom tags create this content, right? And then I just made a bunch of tags as variables in my root module for each environment. So stage had different tags than prods tags. But if var.custom tags is empty, you can do for each expression to have nothing to loop over, so no tags will be set. But you can take it a step further and use a for loop like this. And this is nested, but so you start by doing the dynamic tag again, but instead of for each variable, you go for each for key value in var custom tags, key make it all uppercase, or you could do key make it all lowercase. You can manipulate all those to make sure you have consistent tagging. If key doesn't equal name, right? Because if you don't create if you don't set name, it's just going to set that and be blank. So that it'll say content, same thing, just create some tags. So the nested for expression, like I said, converts a value to uppercase. You can use lower, whatever you want. And it'll filter out a key, sets a name, because the module already sets its own name tag by filtering values of the for expression. You should almost always prefer for each over count, which I said before, but when I told you that count wasn't super useful, that's a little bit of a lie, because actually when it comes to conditional logic, setting counts to 0 and 1, it's way simpler than using for each loops. So I think it'd actually be better to use count to conditionally create resources, but you can use for each for pretty much anything. So then the last part is conditionals with a string directive. So we used 4 string directives to do loops, but here's another type you can do, and that's percent brackets if condition true value percent end if. Or you can optionally add an else to say percent if condition true value percent else false value percent end if. And the condition would be any expression that evaluates to a Boolean, right? True value is what to render if the condition is true, and if the else clause is there, then the else clause, if evaluated as false, will run whatever the false value is. So here's an easy example. So I made a variable name with a description, a name to render, type is a string, and the output is a if-else directive. So in the value, I just set hello percent if var.name doesn't equal blank, then use var.name, else name it unnamed, end if. So if you run Terraform apply and then pass the var world, name equals world, then you'll see if else directive equals hello world. If you run the same command and pass Terraform apply -var name equals quote quote for an empty string, you'll see if else directive equals hello unnamed, because that's what we said the else value should be. So that's an overview of Terraform conditionals. If you have any questions, let me know. I think this is kind of handy for I think error handling, for when people put in tags and you're not quite sure what they might pass, right? Or they might just be like, I'm not passing the tags, this takes too long. Then you could probably pass in some things to have required tags. But overall, I think the most powerful pattern is this this counting of a variable and then question true or false, right? So if you need it just 1 or 0 and it doesn't matter what the output is, you can use the count to be true or false. But if you do care what the value is, then maybe you can use like an if string directive and actually be able to tell it, hey, if it's true, pass this. If it's false, pass this, which count does not do. So that would be the primary difference between them. So have fun, go count and loop over everything, and I'll see you in the next one.